Republican congressman from California. Devin Nunes is the ranking member of the House Intel Committee. He's a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, and he has been among the few congressmen who have been on this program for the last 2.5 years telling the truth about what has taken place. Congressman, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. Great to be with you.
Your reaction from the Mueller testimony.
Well, first of all, it's clear that Mueller didn't write the report. And so who wrote the report? We think there were 5 or 6 lawyers involved. We're still trying to get to the bottom of that. I would say, one of the main takeaways is that we still don't have any Russians, right? We don't know who the Russians were that supposedly, colluded with the Trump campaign. Why? Because there were none. And that's what we said 2.5 years ago. There is evidence that the Democrats colluded with the Russians. We tried to get to the bottom of that, but clearly Mueller and his team of lawyers and 40 investigators and $40 million didn't bother to look for those Russians. They were only looking for the Russians that were mysterious because they don't exist and they never found them.
You focused on Joseph Mifsud in some of your questions. Now, we had George Papadopoulos on this program earlier in the year, and he basically broke the news on this show about Mifsud and about the fact that he was the first person to tell him that Russia had Hillary Clinton's emails. Also, he broke the news on this program earlier this year that another individual dropped $10,000 on his lap, another situation that you mentioned in your questioning. Why was it so important for you to mention people like Mifsud and Schrag and others?
Well, remember, Mifsud is at the heart of this investigation. Mifsud is the one who supposedly knows about Clinton's emails, that the Russians have Clinton emails. He supposedly said this to Papadopoulos, something about emails. This is the excuse, and actually it's not the excuse, it is the reason why the documented reason why they opened the investigation on July 31st, 2016. Now, what I mentioned in my testimony and in my questioning, it's clear that the FBI did not open the investigation on July 31st. That's the paperwork. What we're trying to figure out is, when did the FBI really start to run the investigation? What types of processes did they use? What was the predicate? Because, look, it really appears like they were spying on the Trump campaign. So let me, if I may, start with there was an event at Cambridge University where Carter Page was invited to it. In addition, Stephen Mueller and other Trump campaign people were invited. In June, in late May, early June, they get an invitation to a symposium that was held in Cambridge in early July. Now, at this symposium, you have characters like the British historian Christopher Andrew. You have people like the former head of MI6, Richard Dearlove. This is some type of contract for hire spying outfit. What you have there is you have an American citizen, somebody who's long been involved in politics, and the guy's name is Stephen Schrag. Now, he knows that the House Intelligence Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, the FBI, we want to talk to anyone and everyone who was dealing with Carter Page and other Trump associates, especially in early 2016. Schrag is the one who invited Carter Page to this event. Schrag is the one who organized this event. So, but instead of coming forward, a guy who's been involved in politics for this long doesn't come forward. I want to know, did he know about the Steele dossier at that time? When did he find out about the Steele dossier? Did he have control of the Steele dossier at any time? Did he give it to anyone? Those are the types of things that Stephen Schrag needs to come clean on, because, look, maybe he was just a guy working for minimum wage sweeping the floors around Cambridge. I highly doubt it. And the fact that he hasn't come forward in 2.5 years is highly suspect. Now, when you look at the other Brits that were involved there, Maria, this also ties in with General Flynn, because these Brits were the ones who went public and said, specifically Christopher Andrew said that General Flynn had a Russian girlfriend. Well, that sounds really bad if General Flynn had a Russian girlfriend. Well, in fact, when you actually look at it, who she actually is, she was born in Russia. She's now a UK citizen. And guess what? She was never interviewed by the Mueller team. So you don't interview Schrag. Schrag doesn't come forward. Svetlana Lokova, supposedly this is Flynn's girlfriend. This is the reason that they open up an investigation on General Flynn. She doesn't even get interviewed. So lots of questions and not very many answers on Wednesday.
You said this individual, Stephen Schrag, has been in politics for a long time. What was he in politics for?
Well, the best I can see, he's worked at think tanks. He has a law degree. He was supposedly studying at Cambridge. I'm not sure what he was studying. He's worked on numerous presidential campaigns. That's about all I know.
Did he work for
people
national security
who do
for Mitt
him.
Romney? Was he working with Mitt Romney in national security?
Yeah, I think he worked on the Romney campaign, and I'm not sure. He may have worked on the McCain campaign also. But look, this is why somebody like this, who clearly knows Republicans, he ought to come forward and tell us what he knows. I mean, maybe, like I said, maybe he's completely innocent of this, but he could shed a lot of light on what the FBI or the Brits or private contractors or Fusion GPS or whoever was doing the investigating before July 31st. We've been looking for that for a really long time, as you know.
Congressman, you've mentioned a lot of individuals. I want to ask you about that because all of these individuals that you're mentioning are like intel aides across the world. One from Australia, one from Britain, one from Italy. I want to know who coordinated all of that and who was the mastermind behind the plan to insert Donald Trump into the Russia meddling story.